Hi and welcome back to Love English. I'm Leila and today I want to help you sound more confident. You might already feel confident. You've probably seen plenty of YouTube tutorials, TED Talks that talk about improving your posture, maybe your body language, and of course your voice to sound more confident. Well, in today's lesson, I'm going to share 5 phrases that you should avoid. In fact, don't say them, and I'm going to give you the alternative that helps you sound more confident, more self-assured, more assertive. And of course, when it comes to sounding confident, business meetings, presentations, at university, perhaps giving a presentation again, or even in seminars, sounding confident and self-assured, assertive but not aggressive, is going to help you in all kinds of situations. It's going to help you sound more professional, to gain the respect of your peers and even your superiors. And of course, it's going to help you feel better, feel more confident and more sure of yourself in situations where perhaps sharing your opinion or even accepting when you've done something wrong can be a little bit scary. So this lesson is really going to be quite short and sweet, but it should have a big impact. So here we go. The 5 things I don't want you to say to help you sound more confident, and the alternatives. Let's get started. Right, so these 5 phrases are commonly used, and in fact, some of them might leave you scratching your head thinking, well, why doesn't she want me to use these expressions? Language is subtle. There are differences in meaning and connotations that come with some of these phrases. In fact, if you're a non-native speaker, you probably wouldn't have even realized some of the differences I'm going to explain. So if you would like help understanding these subtle differences in English, then the sponsor of today's video, Cambly, might be the app to help you do that. Cambly is an app where you are able to learn face-to-face with native professional English language teachers, and it's exclusively in English. Tutors are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the added bonus of using Cambly is that you can choose your tutor. You can choose based on their interests, hobbies, or in fact, whether you want to learn British English, American English, Australian English, and more. So it really is in your control. Now for the special offer. If you would like to try Cambly for free for 15 minutes, you can use the code Leila-Sabrah, and that will give you a free 15 minutes. Or you can use the code Leila-Sabrah10 to save 10% on your first month's course, or 19% for a 3-month course. And if you're really committed and you're ready to sign up for a whole year with Cambly, you will save 32%. That's with the code Leila-Sabrah10. So of course, if you've got an iPhone or an Android, all you need to do is go to the App Store, type in Cambly and download the app. From there, you can type in Leila-Sabrah to claim those free 15 minutes and try out Cambly. See just how interactive and helpful it can be in helping you understand these subtle differences in the English language. But for now, I'm going to help you with 5 phrases and give you the alternative to help you sound more confident, self-assured, and assertive in any kind of situation. Right, number 1. And you might disagree with me here, but just wait. Sorry. Sorry. Now, this doesn't mean I want you to never say sorry, to not apologize to people if you do something wrong. However, sorry kind of sounds like a child apologizing to their mum. So if you are in a professional environment or indeed at university and you have done something wrong, perhaps you've turned up late to work, you've forgotten a meeting, you have, I don't know, not done all the research for a project that you should have done. And if you haven't done that, that's very, very bad, especially talking to my students. But if you have done something wrong, rather than say sorry, try using I apologize. I apologize. Now, the difference in I apologize and I'm sorry really sounds that you are taking ownership of your mistake. It sounds more sophisticated and controlled. It's acknowledging that you've made a mistake and that you want to rectify it. There is a slight difference in using sorry and apologize. It really does sound more deliberate, that you want to apologize. But sorry is often used in a way that perhaps you're being forced or you feel like it's an obligation to apologize. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, the bus was late. Rather, say, I apologize, but I missed my bus. I just can't believe I did it. I apologize, more deliberate, more responsible, more sophisticated. Number 2, and I think this is really self-explanatory why you should not use this phrase. Whether it's true or simply that you're not happy about a particular situation at work or at university, to use the phrase, it's not fair, again gives a connotation, this sense that you're being, well, childish and immature. And of course, in a professional environment, at university, you really don't want to give this impression. However, this does not mean I want you to keep your mouth shut and not say when you are unhappy or indeed when something isn't fair. But of course, in English, we have many alternatives to this phrase. So if you're not 5 years old and complaining that your brother has got more chocolate than you, then you might prefer these phrases. Okay, let's think of a situation. Perhaps you're in a meeting with your boss and colleagues, and your boss speaks to you in a way that you don't think is particularly fair. Maybe he blames you for a late report delivery or for not doing some research correctly. Rather than say, that's not fair, don't speak to me in front of everybody like that, you could use the phrase, and this will make you sound very self-assured, confident, and assertive, that's not warranted. Or, that's unwarranted, using the prefix there, that's unwarranted. I think your comments in the meeting were unwarranted today. I think you'll find the deadline was actually next week. Or even if it is true and you do make a mistake, you could say, I think those comments were unwarranted. You could have emailed me and we could have had a face-to-face discussion rather than in front of everybody else. So, I think that was unwarranted, or I don't think that was warranted. There we go. Basically, it means unfair. That's not fair. Okay, number 3, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. And again, whether you are speaking with a teacher, a lecturer, a boss, your colleagues, your peers at university, to say that it's not my fault, to suggest that you did nothing wrong when perhaps you actually did, or even if you did nothing wrong, it's still better to take ownership of something and explain the situation. Taking ownership of something suggests that you are a confident person, that even when mistakes are made, you are able to own up to them, to admit them, and to take control of the situation. So not only will avoiding using this phrase help you feel more confident, but it will definitely help people perceive you as being more confident. Now, what can you say when it really wasn't your fault? Or perhaps you feel that it wasn't your fault and you want to explain what has happened? Well, let's have a look at 3 alternatives. Number 1, I wasn't aware that. I wasn't aware that. If this is true and you really weren't aware of the situation and therefore a mistake was made, then I guess it wasn't your fault. But if you say I wasn't aware, then how can it be your fault? You didn't know, so you couldn't make the right decision or do the right thing. When you act with limited information in any kind of situation, then of course you're not always able to make the right decision. I wasn't aware that. I wasn't aware that we had a meeting at 2 o'clock today. No one emailed me. So I'm sorry, it wasn't my fault. Nobody emailed me. Rather say, I wasn't aware that there was a meeting today at 2 o'clock. No one emailed me. Number 2, justification. If you have done something that people perceive to be wrong or incorrect, then just simply explain why. Justify your actions. I did it that way because. I did it that way because, or I took the decision because. Simply using because is going to help you sound more confident and, of course, show that you are in control of a situation. So when there is a good logical justification for a decision that's been made, then you really shouldn't need to use the phrase, "It's not my fault." Justifying yourself through a logical thought process and explanation means you don't have to use "It's not my fault." And number 3, making sure that there is a flow of conversation, that there's a dialogue between you and the person or people that are perhaps blaming you for something that indeed wasn't your fault. You could say, "I think there seems to be some confusion here. Perhaps we can discuss this further in a team meeting." Or in the office, it could be any situation that you might discuss what has happened or what the problem might be, but simply explaining that there's some confusion, perhaps they don't quite understand what has happened and that you'd like to discuss it further, will of course resolve the situation. And again, using this phrase is going to help you sound confident, assertive, and people are going to listen. To say, "It's not my fault," will automatically make people react in a negative way. It's almost that you're putting a barrier up and rejecting their thoughts, their opinion on a particular situation. So don't put a barrier up, rather create a situation where there's open dialogue and you're able to explain yourself and justify your actions. Number 4, a word in the English language, well actually too contracted, that often has a negative impact. And really, in a work environment, you don't want to be using this. "I can't." I can't. Really, there is no such word as can't, which is true, it's too contracted. So to use "I can't" suggests that really, 1, you're not motivated to find a solution, 2, you're rather negative, and 3, you're basically disobeying whoever has asked you to do something. Let's have a look at some alternatives to can't. Unable. Unable. Now, if any of you have studied English well, you will know that "I am able" is a more formal equivalent to "I can." In the same way, "I can't," "I am unable to." Remember the preposition. So I'm unable to get that report to you by Monday because. Again, I think explaining, giving justifications to your answer is really important here. Or using "I can't, but I can," ending with a positive. If there is something that you really are unable to do, more formal, less negative in connotation, "I'm unable to," or "I can't, but I can." Often giving people an alternative will sound more like a team player, more motivated, and generally just having a better attitude. So "I can't get the report to you by Monday, but I can get it to you by Tuesday morning." How does that sound? And again, you might just want to justify why. But certainly being able to speak in this way shows that you are confident, assertive, and you can find solutions to a problem. Perfect. If someone asks you to do something and you're not sure how, you could simply say, "I'll look into that for you." "I'll look into that for you." So you might not have the information present right at that moment, but you can certainly do some research or find someone who can help you. And again, instead of just immediately putting the walls up saying, "I can't do that," you're saying you're going to try. And by doing this, it shows a certain amount of confidence in your own ability. Right now, I might not be able to do it, but I'm sure I can find the resources or the information to achieve what you are asking of me. You can see how a lot of these phrases are going to be really helpful in the workplace, in an office environment, in a professional situation. And again, if you really are not able to do something, you can say, "I can't because." Explain yourself. Don't be scared to justify your reasons if there is a good one. And again, you could also say, "I'm unable to because." And finally, number 5, a word that, although only 4 letters, usually quite insignificant in sentences, can actually soften your language, but in the wrong situation, it can sound, well, weak. It can weaken your language and make you sound less confident, less assertive. So if you are a boss or a team leader on a university project, you might not want to use just. By using just, you are devaluing the word that comes in front of it. Could I just ask you a question? No, could I ask you a question? Sounds much more assertive, not rude. You can add please to the end, but when you say could I just, it's almost that you're scared to ask, that you're lacking the confidence to check something, to ask the question. Could I just ask you to do some research on that subject we discussed? Again, using just minimizes the importance of your request. If you're a team leader, even if you're not, if you're just part of a group and you've asked someone to do something, using just is minimizing and devaluing what you are asking of them. Interestingly, there has been research done to suggest that women use this word and other language in the workplace where their language is essentially softened, which basically means they are devaluing themselves and how people perceive them. They're not being perceived as confident and assertive, whereas men would be less likely to use the word just. So ladies, if you are professionals, whether a boss or simply working in a professional environment, try to avoid using this word so that others see you as confident, self-assured, and assertive. So, like I said, a very simple lesson, but hopefully it gives you an understanding of how some very simple basic words in English can affect how people perceive you and potentially how you feel about yourself. The subtleties of language are essential to understand, particularly as you advance in your English language learning journey. And don't forget, if you'd like to learn more about phrases like these and how to sound more confident in English, check out that Cambly app and use our code Leila-Sabrah for your free 15 minutes. Thanks for watching. Bye.